Leave. Only family is allowed here. My father said that to me at my own sister's wedding after I had spent 18 hours on a plane to be there. I was standing on a gravel path lined with white pebbles, carry-on still in my hand, listening to a string quartet playing through the doors of a venue I was not allowed to enter. My mother stood 2 steps behind him and said nothing. 3 days later, she called about a bill, $38,000 charge with my name on it for a wedding I was not allowed to attend. What I said next made her completely silent. Before I continue, take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely connect with this story. Drop your location and local time in the comments. I like knowing where you are. My name is Athena. I'm 34 and work in compliance consulting based in London. Let me take you back to 4 months earlier, the day I received a wedding invitation I should not have trusted. Growing up in the Sinclair household, there were 2 different childhoods under one roof. There was Paige's version, with homecoming dresses and a used Honda Civic waiting in the driveway on her 16th birthday, paid for by a father who called her my little star without hesitation. Then there was mine, where I filled out my own college applications at the public library because no one reminded me of deadlines. My father, Gerald, ran a small building supply store on the south side of Charlotte. He spoke about it like it was an empire, but in reality, it was a cinder block building with a leaking roof and 3 part-time employees who never stayed long. My mother, Donna, managed the house and avoided conflict, which usually meant agreeing with Gerald and redirecting any tension toward the easiest target. That was usually me. Paige was 5 years younger, naturally charming, and genuinely believed the world arranged itself around her because she deserved it. I do not say that with bitterness, but because everything else grew from that idea. I left home at 18 with a partial scholarship to UN Charlotte and savings I built from tutoring. No one drove me to campus or helped me move in. I did not expect them to. 7 years ago, at 27, I took a position with Whitfield and Crane Consulting in London. Compliance analysis, the kind of work where you read contracts line by line, identifying what does not belong. I was good at it. I had been training for it my entire life without realizing. I bought a 1-bedroom flat in Canary Wharf. Small, clean, mine. Every part paid for with money I earned. I did not leave home. Home left me first. The invitation arrived on a Tuesday in late September, inside a heavy cream envelope with a foil-pressed return address from Crane & Company Stationery. I recognized the quality. Someone had spent real money on it. Inside was a formal invitation to the wedding of Paige Sinclair and Tyler Redmond at the Whitmore Estate in Charlotte, North Carolina. December 14th. Black tie optional. I looked up the venue. A restored plantation-style estate with crystal chandeliers, manicured gardens, and a starting price of $25,000. For a family that could not afford to repair the AC in the store, this was a stretch. What stopped me was the note Paige included, handwritten on a separate card in her looping script. It wouldn't be complete without you. Please come. P. 7 years. In that time, my parents only called when they needed something. A co-sign request Gerald quickly withdrew. A medical bill Donna wanted help understanding. Paige called on birthdays. Sometimes Christmas was just a group message. And now this, an invitation with a personal note that sounded like it mattered. I booked the flight that weekend. London Heathrow to Charlotte Douglas. Economy, $1,400 round trip. I told myself I was not going because I had forgiven anything. I told myself I wanted to see if they had changed. There is a difference between forgiveness and curiosity. I was holding on to the second. Rachel Torres, my closest friend from college, now a paralegal at Barnes & Whitfield in Charlotte, texted me when I told her, "You're actually going?" Bold move. I should have paid attention to her tone. I landed in Charlotte on a Friday evening in December. The airport smelled like cinnamon and jet fuel, and everything felt both familiar and unfamiliar. The voices at the gate, the humidity even in winter. I picked up a rental at the Hertz counter and drove to the Hilton Garden Inn near the University District. I never stayed at my parents' house when I visited. That had been true for years, and no one questioned it. From the hotel room, I called Paige. It rang 5 times. "Hey," she said, too brightly, "you made it." I told her I had just checked in and asked if there was anything I should know about the next day. Just be at the venue by 2. Ceremony starts at 3. Her voice sounded controlled, like she was around others and did not want to say much. I have to go. Rehearsal stuff. See you tomorrow. She hung up before I could respond. I called my mother next. Donna answered on the second ring, and the first thing she said landed heavily. Oh, you actually came? I thought the flight was so long you might change your mind. I sat on the edge of the hotel bed in my trench coat, suitcase still upright by the door, and let that settle. She did not say she was glad. She did not say she would see me tomorrow. She said she expected I would not show up. I told her I would be at the venue by 2 and ended the call. Something felt off. Not visible, just a shift you can sense without explanation. I did not sleep well that night. Saturday, December 14th, I wore a fitted navy dress I bought for the occasion. Low heels, pearl studs, nothing excessive, just enough to look appropriate. The Whitmore estate sat at the end of a long gravel drive lined with bare magnolias wrapped in white lights. Through the windows, I could see chandeliers and a string quartet warming up, something classical drifting across the grounds. My father was standing outside the entrance. Not inside greeting guests, not at the altar. Outside on the gravel, hands in the pockets of a charcoal vest I had never seen, beside a leased Cadillac Escalade with a dealer plate still attached. He saw me and stepped forward. Athena, you need to leave. I stopped. Excuse me? Only family is allowed. You were not invited. I held up the invitation, the same foil-pressed card with my name. I have the invitation right here. That was a mistake. You shouldn't have come. I looked past him. Through the glass doors, I saw Paige in a white Vera Wang gown, laughing with a bridesmaid. Donna stood near the entrance, watching us, but she did not come outside or acknowledge me. Don't make a scene, he said. Guests are inside. Walk away. I did not argue or cry. Not there. I turned, pulled my suitcase across the gravel, and walked back to the car. I only cried after the doors were locked and the engine was running. Not for the wedding, but because I had allowed myself to hope. Back at the Hilton, I sat on the bed in the same dress, shoes still on, staring at the muted television for what felt like an hour. The room smelled like carpet cleaner and the lavender sachet I always carry. I called Rachel at 8. They did what? She said sharply. I told her everything. Gerald at the entrance, Donna watching through the window, Paige inside laughing while I stood outside holding an invitation no one honored. I want to go home, I said. I'll rebook my flight. Don't. Not yet, she replied. Something doesn't add up. They invited you. Paige wrote a note. You flew 18 hours and they turned you away. People don't do that without a reason. Either they need something or they're hiding something. I wanted to disagree, to say my family was capable of hurting me without any motive. But Rachel had years of legal experience and knew how to recognize what was not being said. Give it a few days, stay. If nothing happens, leave Sunday, but something will happen. I did not fully believe her, but I did not book the flight either. 3 days passed. No one called. I stayed at the hotel, working remotely, reviewing audit files for a client in Zurich who did not care about my situation. That was the reliability of compliance work. Contracts are clear. They say exactly what they mean. On Monday, I made the mistake of opening Instagram. Paige's account was full of wedding photos, golden hour at the estate, the ceremony, a 5-tier cake, captions with hashtags about the perfect day. 47 photos, none of me. No mention of me, as if I had never been there. Then I saw my mother's post, a collage. Paige as a baby at prom at the altar with Gerald, and at the bottom, an old photo of Paige and me as children. The caption, so proud of both my girls. I stared at the word both. She posted it for appearances, for relatives and friends, to maintain a narrative she could not explain otherwise. Meanwhile, Paige posted about her honeymoon, Bali, tagged at a luxury resort. I closed the app, shut my laptop, and had vending machine crackers for dinner. Some things you observe, others you endure. Tuesday morning, my phone rang at 9:15. It was my mother. I almost did not answer, but I have a rule. Never ignore a call when you do not know what the other side wants. Athena, she said, without greeting, we need to discuss the bill. What bill? The venue. The total is $38,000. A brief pause. How will you pay? I sat up straight. What are you talking about? I didn't book a venue. You signed the contract. You are the guarantor. Your name is on it. The room felt unsteady. I had not signed anything. I had not been asked. I had not even known about a contract. I never signed anything for that wedding. There was movement on the other end, then Gerald's voice. Don't pretend. Your name is on the contract. You owe this family. I owe this family for a wedding you excluded me from? We'll discuss that later. Handle the bill. I didn't sign anything, I repeated. Then who did? He said. A ghost? I pressed my hand against the desk, steadying myself. My voice remained controlled. You keep mentioning a contract in my signature. I am telling you clearly, I never signed a guarantor agreement for that venue or anything related to it. He hung up. I sat there, replaying the words, contract, signature, guarantor. I understood exactly what they meant. I read contracts for a living, and I knew what a forged signature meant legally. I also knew what to do next. That was the moment I stopped reacting emotionally and started analyzing. At 10:30 that morning, I called the Whitmore estate. The front desk transferred me to event coordination. A woman named Karen Mitchell answered, professional and steady. Miss Mitchell, my name is Athena Sinclair. I'm calling about the Sinclair-Redmond wedding held on December 14th. I understand there is a guarantor agreement associated with the event. Yes, we do have a guarantor on file for that booking. And Athena Sinclair. That's my name, but I did not sign that document. There was silence, the kind that suggests someone has stopped typing. Miss Sinclair, could you repeat that? I am telling you clearly that I never signed a guarantor agreement for this wedding. I was not asked, and I was not present. I would like to request a copy of the document. Another pause, then a more careful response. Ma'am, if what you're saying is correct, this would be a serious matter for our legal department. I understand. I'm requesting a copy through whatever formal process you require. I can provide government-issued identification to confirm my identity. She explained the procedure, submit a written request, include a passport copy for verification, and the legal team would send a scanned document within 48 hours. I thanked her, ended the call, and drafted the request letter in 12 minutes. I attached a scan of my passport photo page and sent it through the required channel. Then I called Rachel. It's real, I said. There's a contract with my name on it, and I never signed it. Rachel stayed quiet for exactly 3 seconds. Okay, now we act. I had 48 hours before the contract copy arrived, 48 hours to decide how I would handle this. The calls started on Wednesday. Aunt Caroline went first, using a warm but firm tone that sounded rehearsed. Athena, your mother is very upset. She says you promised to cover the venue and now you're backing out. I know things are complicated, but think about your parents' health. I wanted to say I had promised nothing, but I recognized the pattern. Donna had already set the narrative. Uncle Roger followed with a long email. Subject line, family first. His argument was simple. Family is about love, not contracts, and I should not let money divide us. It read like a speech about a relationship he had never actually maintained with me. Cousin Beth sent a short message. Just pay it. It's easier. Out of 23 members of the extended Sinclair family, 22 were hearing the same version of events. That I had made a commitment, that I was breaking it, that I was being cold and selfish, choosing money over family. I documented everything. Screenshots of messages, saved voicemails, archived emails. Compliance training teaches one principle clearly. Document everything, especially when the narrative being shared is not yours. Then I received a message from a number I barely recognized. Cousin Dylan. Something feels off. Mom keeps saying you promised, but I don't think that's the full story. Want to talk? Dylan, 26, worked in IT and had always been observant. I replied, not yet, but keep paying attention. He sent back a simple thumbs up. 1 out of 23 people thought to question the story. I saved the thread and moved on. Paige called Thursday afternoon. I was at the hotel desk reviewing a work file when her name appeared. Athena. No warmth, no familiarity, just a direct tone. You need to pay the bill. You make 6 figures. $38,000 is basically 1 month's salary for you. You had me removed from your wedding, and now you want me to pay for it? That was Dad's decision. I didn't want it. You didn't stop him either. A pause followed. Look, she said, Dad handled the contract months ago. It's done. Just pay the bill so we can move on. I never signed anything. Whatever. Dad handled it. How exactly did he handle it? I don't know the details. I just know your name is on it. Write the check and stop making this complicated. You can afford it. I leaned back, looking at the ceiling. $38,000 for a wedding I was not allowed to attend. Paige, answer me honestly. Did you know Dad used my name on that contract? The silence lasted 5 seconds, long enough to say everything. It doesn't matter, she replied. It matters to me. You left this family, Athena. You moved to London and disappeared. You don't get to come back and act like the victim. I ended the call and placed the phone face down. My hands were steady, not because I was calm, but because something had shifted. She knew. She had known, and it did not concern her. Let me pause here briefly. You just heard her response. Just write the check, as if $38,000 for a wedding I was excluded from was insignificant. If your sibling said that to you, what would your response be? Would you agree after an apology, refuse entirely, or handle it differently? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you have not subscribed yet, now is a good moment. This situation is about to escalate. Friday morning, Gerald called again. His tone was sharper, controlled, like he had prepared what to say. I spoke to someone who works in real estate law. He says the guarantor contract is legally binding. You have 30 days to pay, or the venue will take legal action. A real estate contact? I noted the wording. Did he also explain what happens if the guarantor's signature was forged? Silence followed, noticeable and immediate. No one forged anything, Gerald replied, slower now. You're making excuses to avoid responsibility. I am responsible for nothing related to a wedding I was denied entry to, and I will have the contract by this afternoon. We will confirm whose signature is actually on it. You think your London job and apartment matter? A judge won't care. You're free to take this to court, but I suggest you consult a qualified attorney, not a friend. He ended the call before finishing his sentence. I had heard the word ungrateful enough times that it no longer had any impact. What mattered was his reaction. He did not directly deny the possibility of forgery. He deflected, then escalated. But when I used the word forged, he paused first. That pause was informative. Rachel texted at noon. Contract should arrive today. Ready? I was ready. I had been ready for years. That evening, Donna called again, alone this time. Her tone was softer, almost unsteady. Athena, I'm asking you. Your father is not sleeping. If the venue takes action, we could lose the house. You could lose the house because someone used my name on a contract without my consent. Don't use that word, she said quickly. We didn't do anything wrong. We used your information because we had no other option. That statement contained its own admission. You had the option to ask me. You would have refused, and that would have been the end of it. There was a pause, followed by a shift in tone. You've always been like this, distant. Even as a child, your sister needed this wedding. Our finances are strained. The venue required a guarantor. We had your social security number and tax records from your old room. So you accessed my personal documents and signed my name without informing me. We didn't take anything. You're our daughter. That's what family does. Family asks. It doesn't take without consent. You don't understand what we've been dealing with, she said. I understand clearly. You used my personal information, signed a legal agreement in my name, and excluded me from the event so I wouldn't discover it. She began crying, though the reason was unclear. I allowed the silence to remain. By Saturday, the situation had intensified. Messages became more direct. Aunt Caroline left another voicemail, emphasizing my parents' health. Uncle Roger sent a shorter email titled Disappointed, stating they had not raised me this way. Cousin Beth accidentally forwarded a message from a group chat I had never been part of. 22 people discussing me without speaking to me directly. Then Dylan texted again. Aunt Donna is organizing a family brunch next Sunday. She says it's to discuss everything, but I think it's going to be pressure in front of everyone. I read the message carefully. A group setting. A controlled narrative. A planned confrontation. Donna was assembling an audience. What she did not know was that the contract would arrive soon, and that I would have documented evidence. I replied to Dylan, I'll be there. Then I called Rachel. They're organizing a public discussion next Sunday. Good, Rachel said. Let them. 22 people, one version of events, and no one had asked to see the actual document. That would change. Saturday night, alone in the hotel room, I considered leaving. I had the airline site open. A Sunday morning seat back to London available for a $260 change fee. My cursor hovered over the confirmation button. My life, my apartment, my work was waiting. Rachel arrived at 9 with coffee and used the spare key I had given her. "Close the laptop," she said. "I'm just checking options." "You're leaving," she replied, and that's exactly what they expect. They assume you'll return to London, pay the bill quietly, and avoid conflict. I don't care about explanations. This isn't about explanation. It's about making sure they cannot ever use your name again. That statement changed the situation. "The contract should arrive by Monday," she continued. "Wait one more day." I looked at the screen again, then closed the laptop. "One more day," I agreed. Rachel stayed for about an hour. We spoke about ordinary things, her work, a case at her firm, nothing related to the situation. After she left, I lay in the dark, listening to the quiet hum of the hallway machines. One more day. I did not sleep. Around 2 a.m., I lay fully dressed on the bed, staring at the ceiling I had memorized after nearly 2 weeks. My thoughts went back to a moment I rarely revisit. I was 14, having just placed second at a state-level science fair for a water filtration project. I received a small trophy and certificate. My mother was meant to attend the ceremony, but did not. Gerald was supposed to drive me, but chose instead to take Paige to buy soccer equipment. I took the bus home alone, holding the trophy in a plastic bag. When I placed it on the kitchen counter, it was moved by the next morning, out of sight, placed on top of the refrigerator. Paige's soccer photo remained prominently displayed. Lying there years later, I understood something clearly. I had not traveled 18 hours for a wedding. I had traveled to see if anything had changed, if I would finally be acknowledged differently. That did not happen, and the most difficult part was not being turned away. It was realizing nothing had changed at all. It was the realization that I still showed up hoping things would be different. At some point, I must have slept because I woke at 7 a.m. with my shoes still on and a dull headache. The coffee Rachel had left was cold on the nightstand. My phone had one notification, an email from the Whitmore estate. Subject line, document request, Sinclair event. I sat up, opened it, and everything shifted. Before opening the attachment, my phone rang. Gerald at 7:15 on a Sunday morning. His voice sounded controlled, like someone trying to stay steady under pressure. "I hope you've had time to think. The venue has been patient, but they won't wait forever." "Interesting timing," I replied. "There's nothing interesting about this." I spoke to someone again. He confirmed the guarantor contract is enforceable. You signed it. That's final. Did he also explain what happens if the signature was forged? I asked you that before, and you ended the call. There was a longer pause this time. No one forged anything. You keep using that word as if it matters. It does. It's a felony in North Carolina. Another pause. I could hear his breathing, measured but uneven. If you want to argue like a lawyer, go ahead. But when a judge sees your name on that contract, it won't matter. I won't be arguing. I'll provide my passport with my real signature and let that speak. You're unbelievable. After everything. I have the contract, by the way. Silence followed, complete this time. The venue sent it this morning. I'm looking at it now. I could hear him swallow. We'll see which version holds up, I added. He ended the call immediately. No argument, no threats, just a disconnect. I opened the attachment but paused before reading it. I needed to be fully focused. While the coffee brewed, my phone lit up again. Dylan had sent a screenshot from the family group chat, the one I was never included in. I read it carefully. Donna had written that I refused to honor my commitment and had always been selfish. Gerald added that I earned over $200,000 and would not help my own sister. Paige claimed I had always been jealous of her. Others followed with comments about cutting contact and expressing disappointment. 22 people were shaping a version of me that did not exist, a narrative built without facts. None of them had seen the contract. None had asked. They relied on what they were told, and it was easier to accept it than question it. I documented everything, screenshots, timestamps, messages, then organized them in a file. When a story is written without your input, documentation becomes essential. Dylan followed up, apologizing for sharing the messages. I thanked him. "Whatever you're planning," he said, "I'm on your side." I placed the phone down and returned to the email. The attachment was a single PDF, 11 pages. They were defining who I was, but they did not realize I knew how to read the details. Page 1 outlined the event: Whitmore Estate, December 14th, Sinclair Redmond wedding. Total cost $38,000. Page 2 listed payment terms. Page 3 contained the guarantor agreement. It stated, I, Athena Sinclair, guarantee full payment if the primary parties default. At the bottom was a signature, my name, but not my handwriting. I studied it closely. The style attempted to imitate mine, the extended A, the loop in the S, but the pressure, angle, and flow were incorrect. The letters did not connect the way mine do. It was an imitation, likely copied from an old document. It might pass for someone unfamiliar with my writing, but not for me. I placed the contract beside my passport, open to my real signature. The difference was clear. They did not match. That's not my signature, I said aloud, and I can prove it. I called Rachel. I'm looking at it, I told her. How bad? My name, but someone else's handwriting. It's clearly not mine. That's forgery, she said directly. Under North Carolina law, that makes the agreement invalid from the start. You have no liability. I leaned back, considering the implication. They had not only misrepresented me, they had used my identity without consent. Rachel arrived within an hour, already prepared with notes. We sat at the desk, reviewing the document together. First step, she said, you send a formal letter to the venue's legal department. State clearly that you did not sign the agreement and that the signature is not yours. Request verification. Attach your passport signature for comparison. I drafted the letter in 20 minutes. Rachel reviewed it, adjusted wording, and added a line requesting preservation of the original document for forensic analysis. What happens next? I asked. If they confirm forgery, the entire balance returns to the original contracting parties, your parents and Paige. If they report it, it could become a criminal matter, but that's their decision. You're simply stating facts. I nodded. I don't want to press charges. You don't have to. You just need to be accurate. I sent the letter with supporting documents that afternoon. Then I waited. Dylan confirmed that a family brunch had been scheduled for Sunday at Aunt Caroline's house. The purpose, according to them, was to help Athena understand the situation. In reality, it was a controlled setting designed to apply pressure. I informed Rachel. They're organizing a group discussion. Good, she replied. Let them. The plan was simple. I would bring 3 things: the contract with the forged signature, the letter I sent to the venue, and my passport. No arguments, no emotional responses, just evidence. That is how I work professionally. Present the facts and allow the room to adjust. The guest list included about 15 people, parents, relatives, Paige, and her husband. A group already aligned with one version of events. They expected a confrontation. What they would get instead was documentation. Thursday morning, the venue's legal department responded. They confirmed they were initiating a signature verification process and had suspended any collection activity directed at me. That alone indicated they saw an issue. Rachel confirmed it. They wouldn't pause action unless they noticed a discrepancy. 2 hours later, a second email arrived, this time from the event coordinator, Karen Mitchell. She explained that the person who submitted the guarantor form was an older man who signed it at the front desk, appearing rushed. That detail was clear enough. Gerald had gone to the venue and signed my name himself. I saved both emails, printed them, and added them to the file. Now I had 4 documents: the contract, the legal response, Karen's statement, and my passport. Clear, organized, and consistent. Sunday morning, I dressed simply and professionally. The folder was complete. Everything was in order. Rachel called briefly to check in. Then I drove to Aunt Caroline's house. Several cars were already there. I sat in the car for a moment, aware that most people inside had already formed their conclusions. I picked up the folder, stepped out, and walked inside. The room quieted as I entered. Gerald noticed me first, his expression firm. Donna gave a controlled smile. Paige avoided eye contact. There was no seat prepared for me until Dylan stood and brought one in. At this point, I had the contract, the correspondence, and my verified signature. What would you do in that situation? Place the evidence immediately, or allow them to speak first and respond after. Share your approach. Gerald stood at the head of the table and began speaking, framing the situation as if it were a formal discussion. He stated that I had made a commitment, signed a contract, and was now refusing to honor it. Others nodded in agreement. Donna followed, presenting it as a private matter forced into discussion by my actions. Paige spoke next, saying she had simply wanted me at her wedding and that I had turned the situation into a financial issue. Tyler, sitting beside her, remained quiet, though his expression suggested uncertainty. Gerald concluded by saying, I was being given an opportunity to do the right thing. I remained silent, allowing them to finish completely. Then the others began adding their perspectives, reinforcing the same narrative, that I should resolve the issue by paying. I observed Tyler closely. He appeared confused, as if hearing something inconsistent with what he had been told. At one point, he quietly asked Paige about the contract. She told him she would explain later. Gerald, confident in the room's agreement, pressed further, stating that I had signed the contract and could not deny it. Most of the group expected me to concede. Only Dylan remained attentive, watching closely. I met Gerald's gaze, then stood up. The room became quiet. I've listened, I said. Now I'll respond. I opened the folder and placed the first document, the guarantor agreement, at the center of the table. This is the contract everyone has been referring to. The guarantor agreement for Paige's wedding at the Whitmore estate. My name appears on it. I pointed to the signature line, but that is not my signature. Then I placed my passport next to it, open to the photo page showing my real signature, firm, slightly slanted to the left, with the looped S and the long-tailed A. I've written the same way since I was 17. This is my actual signature. Compare them side by side. Aunt Caroline reached for the contract first, holding it next to the passport and narrowing her eyes. Uncle Roger leaned closer. Cousin Beth finally put her phone down. The difference was clear once you actually looked. Not similar, not close. The Whitmore estate has already confirmed they are investigating the forgery, I said, placing the venue's letter on the table. It outlined the suspension of collection and the formal review. During the investigation, all collection efforts against me have been paused. Gerald's face turned pale. That's ridiculous, he said. You must have signed it over the phone or electronically. Dad, I kept my tone steady. The venue coordinator confirmed that an older man submitted this form in person and signed it at the front desk. The room absorbed that in real time. I saw it register on each face. Gerald opened his mouth, but nothing came out. For the first time, he had no response. Aunt Caroline spoke next, placing the contract down carefully. Gerald, is this true? Did you sign her name? It was for Paige, his voice faltered. We had no other option. Our credit was ruined after the store closed. The venue required a guarantor. You committed forgery, Uncle Roger said, standing up, visibly upset. On your own daughter's name. That's a felony. Donna reached for Gerald's arm. We were desperate. You don't understand. Desperate? Aunt Caroline replied sharply. Donna, I asked you directly last month if Athena agreed to help. You said yes. Donna stayed silent. At the far end, Tyler pushed his chair back and turned to Paige. Wait, you told me your parents were covering the venue. You said Athena was only helping with flowers. Paige tried to calm him. Tyler, sit down. You knew? His voice wasn't loud, but it carried more weight. You knew your dad forged your sister's name and said nothing? It was complicated. It's not complicated, Paige. It's a crime. The room split instantly. Gerald and Donna were exposed. Paige sat beside them, trying to hold on to Tyler as he pulled away. I stood at the end of the table, silent. The documents were doing the work, voices overlapped. Donna cried. Uncle Roger demanded answers. Tyler stared at Paige, clearly rethinking everything. I raised a hand. I'm not finished. The room went quiet. I'm not pressing charges. That's not why I'm here. I looked at everyone, one by one, but I want you all to understand 3 things. First, I never signed that contract. I have no legal or moral obligation to pay any part of the $38,000. Second, I traveled 18 hours to attend Paige's wedding. I stood outside that venue with an invitation, and I was turned away by the same person who forged my name because he didn't want me to find out. Third, I don't hate anyone here, but I will not take responsibility for debts that aren't mine, and I will not apologize for refusing. Donna spoke through tears. Athena, please. Mom, I lowered my hand. I'm done being the person you call only when you need something signed, paid, or blamed. Gerald remained silent, staring at the contract. I gathered the documents calmly and placed them back in the folder. Kindness is not a contract, I said, and family is not a blank check. I walked past the table, past the untouched food and the silence. Dylan met my eyes and gave a small nod. I stepped outside into the cold light. No one followed me, but this time the silence felt different. Not rejection, something closer to respect. As I walked toward the car, I heard voices from inside. Tyler, controlled but firm, asking Paige what else she had lied about. I didn't stay to listen. I got in the car, placed the folder on the seat, and started the engine. Dylan came out a moment later and approached the window. "That took courage," he said. "You helped by sending the screenshots." He nodded. "Most people inside are on your side now." Even Aunt Caroline told Gerald he should be ashamed. I thanked him and drove away without looking back. The next morning, I received an email from the venue's legal department. After reviewing handwriting and witness statements, they concluded the signature was not mine. The guarantor agreement was void. All financial responsibility returned to Gerald and Donna. I read it carefully, then called Rachel. "It's done," I said. "You owe nothing," she replied. A second email followed, a revised invoice sent to Gerald and Donna for $38,000, payable within 60 days. I placed the phone down and drove to the airport. The flight home was long, but I slept deeply for the first time in weeks. 3 days later, Paige called. Her tone had changed. Tyler had canceled their honeymoon and wanted honesty before moving forward. She asked if I could speak to him for her. I declined. That was her responsibility. She admitted she was wrong and asked how to fix it. I told her to start with the truth, with Tyler and with herself. The call ended without resolution. Later, Gerald called. His voice lacked its usual authority. He admitted he expected me to pay without questioning it. He also revealed he had signed my name on another agreement for rental items. I told him I was out of it completely. Whatever consequences followed were his to face. He apologized, and for once, he didn't argue. In the days that followed, messages came in from other family members, apologies from those who had judged without asking. But the ones who mattered most stayed silent. Winning didn't feel like closure. It felt necessary, but not clean. Months passed. Gerald sold assets to cover part of the debt and arranged a payment plan. Donna started working. Paige and Tyler entered counseling, and the honeymoon was gone. The venue chose not to pursue criminal charges. Life in London continued. Work, routine, quiet evenings. But something had shifted. I started saying yes to things I used to avoid. Dinners, trips, conversations. I realized I had mistaken independence for isolation. In May, I called Paige. The conversation was simple. No mention of the past, no conflict. Just two people speaking without expectations. It wasn't resolution, but it was a beginning. Strength isn't about carrying everything for everyone. It's about knowing what belongs to you and letting go of what doesn't. I had let go. Now, sitting by the window in my flat, I think about everything that happened, about the moment I was told I didn't belong. And I understand something clearly. Family is not obligation, not performance, not a contract signed in someone else's name. It's choice. It's who shows up honestly. My name is Athena Sinclair. I work in compliance. I live alone, and I'm still learning that protecting yourself is not selfish. No one signs my name but me. And that is enough. That's my story. If it resonated with you, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Have you ever had to set a boundary with family, even at a cost? Have you ever been treated as the one everyone depends on financially? Or share your own experience. And if you want more stories like this, check the description for similar ones. Until next time, remember, your name and your signature belong to you. Don't let anyone else write them.